she went to the doctor and the doctor told her, we are not going to do your fifth cesarean. आपकी जगह काटने के लिए आपके बदन पे भी काटने के लिए कोई जगह नहीं है, तो हम लोग आपका fifth cesarean नहीं करेंगे. So husband told her, not a problem, doctors नहीं ले रहे ना, अपन अल्लाह पे भरोसा करेंगे and हम लोग की delivery, we'll do the delivery at home. And she said, उसकी delivery, she is a healthy girl, baby girl right now, and her delivery, her husband did her delivery at home. And mom was like, okay, she came and told me the story. Like, who's this auntie? Where is this auntie? I want to go and meet her. I want to go and talk to her.
This is the Birth Agni podcast, the fire that brings us alive, that burns myths and opens a channel of authentic natural birth stories. This show debunks the many myths of the medicalized births, showcases the plethora of choices a pregnant couple can make to embark on their empowered birth journey. I'm Divya Kapoor, a certified birth and lactation counselor and an aspiring traditional birth attendant. Let's get the flames blazing high. Good morning, everyone. I hope you're doing good. I have been coming across lately stories of VBAC, that is vaginal birth after cesarean, and this one is about HBAC. HBAC is home birth after cesarean. So the stories of VBACs in the hospitals where I've recently come across 3 women who were induced after 24 hours of labor when the uteruses were tired and they all ruptured. The uterus ruptured. And I'm not surprised. That's how the uterus will rupture. If we shock an organ that's at the center of doing the work for you after a primary surgery by giving an artificial drug, which is really powerful, really strong, and it's like an army, like Gail says, my midwifery teacher. It's like an army that you've thrown at women, and they are going to rupture. And this really viral video that I saw yesterday at 9, which had 20 lakh views, wherein the woman was induced in the middle of labor, and throughout she thought that the risk was because she was trying for a vaginal birth after cesarean, and it was not because she was induced. To put things into perspective, she was doing so well. She was so intuitive, she was so in her senses. She was aware that position changes helped her. She wanted to do the work, but she internalized at the end of the video, that's what she said, so I'm quoting her, that the attempt to have a vaginal birth after cesarean led to uterine rupture. And it leaves me as a birth worker at crossroads thinking, is it not intentional? Because there is enough evidence against using, or logic, pure logic, against using induction. Even if the uterus is tired, it can cause uterine rupture then. After a cesarean, don't even think about it. Anyway, inductions are ruthless. They are hard on the mother. They aren't even required in a majority of cases. And I can't even think of when they are required. And so today's story, I hope it really helps you understand how birth works. And Mubina beautifully explains the events that lead to her decision to have a home birth after 4 cesareans. And it's powerful in the way how you're being led. We are all being led in our stories to reach where we will reach. And the stories we will weave around the people we will weave it to reach where we have to reach. This part 1 is all about her decision to reach a home birth and the events just at the beginning of the labor, and how labor beautifully begins through her manifestation. I've given you a hint already. So I hope you really like it. And I hope it really gives you some strength, some understanding about how your own body is so powerful. After 4 cesareans, a home birth, so powerful. In part 2, that is to come out next week, you will hear the details of labor and post-birth events. I highly urge all of you who are listening to take childbirth classes. This viral video made me realize that there is very little awareness, that we need to step up for ourselves. There was so much ignorance in that video with respect to how birth happens. Even in the comments, I was appalled and amazed. Take childbirth classes, and if you really want to learn about how birth works, and if you really want to learn how birth happens on its own, outside of the drugs, and what happens in the hospital system, take childbirth classes from an independent educator. I do have an events page on the website now, so you can go on the website and check the current ongoing classes. They are single sessions that are running. I do have 2 programs, Own Your Birth and Reverse the Labor Land. These 2 programs are designed to talk about birth just the way it is and outside of the medical interventions, just authentic knowledge. You can go ahead and check the website. If you do not understand anything and want to further discuss, you have an opportunity to book a discovery call with me wherein you can discuss what these programs are all about and how does it all look like. And now, on to Mubina's story. It's been a while we've been speaking and now we are sitting together to record. Please go ahead and tell us about yourself.
My name is Mubina. I'm born and brought up in Kuwait, and currently I'm a homeschooling mama to 4 kids. And I'm a doula, I'm a childbirth educator. I
Yeah.
did my certifications last year.
Yes, I think your
Yes.
journey to have a home birth sparked something in you, and we've had our conversations on and off where you were doing the course, where we would often talk about what's with the society, that things have changed over these years, that trust in women has been lost, and it's hard to convince sometimes. And these stories, I'm sure, and your story is going to be really helpful to help women trust themselves and see that it's possible. It's very much possible. So we'll begin from the beginning. How was it with your first few births? And you also had an elective cesarean. So how was the entire situation then? Yeah.
Okay, I conceived my first child at age 21. The pregnancy was totally smooth. We chose a hospital where we both were born. The pregnancy was totally smooth. There were no issues. There were no complications. I chose an Indian doctor. Um Towards the end, 9th month, at 36 weeks, at 35 weeks actually, she did a handshake. She did a vaginal handshake just to see whether I'm dilated and how much dilation. And I didn't know. I was completely unknowledgeable about birth, about how the process takes place. All I knew as that early 20-year-old, that I just wanted to have a good pregnancy, a normal birth. I was looking forward to a normal birth, but I didn't know how it would happen. So she did this handshake. After the handshake, she told me, "You're still closed. You're 2 centimeters dilated, and drink cinnamon tea. That'll help you labor." That's what she told me. And I came back home.
And
After
you
3 days,
were
I experienced.
at 35 weeks,
I
you
was
were
at 35 weeks.
already 2 centimeters dilated.
That's
That's
what
a
she told me. Yeah.
but that's a good news.
Yeah, and I came back home and my water broke in 3 days. Initially, in the pregnancy, because the weight of the baby, your body releases a lot of urine, right? And it smells like urine when you smell your underpants. So I was not sure because it was just trickle, and I didn't know what a water break was. But I called home. I'm feeling a bit different, and my husband told me, call up your mom or my mom and check what it is. We had no clue about it, and they told me, we're not sure, but if you call the doctor. I called her up. She asked me, "What is it? How does it smell?" I'm like, "It smells like urine." I'm like, "Then possibly it would be urine itself." Come next day in the morning. It was night 9 o'clock. She told me, "Come to the hospital next day in the morning, and I'll check on you." I couldn't sleep through the night. The water, it was clear, but it's through the night it started increasing. There was a flow to it, and I was leaking more. I put a pad down there for the water, but I couldn't sleep. I could feel the baby pushing the head down towards. I couldn't figure out what's happening. I was not sure if I should go to the hospital, but I was like, okay, the doctors told me to come in the morning. So I'll go in the morning. I can wait for a few hours. I went in the morning, and next day the date was 999, like 090909, and uh, yeah, she was busy. She was busy in the operation theater because it was a fancy date. It was apparently a fancy date, and everyone was doing cesareans on that day. So I went at 10 o'clock. She came and seen me at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Till then, I was just waiting, and my water bag was leaking, so it took me a long while. When she seen me at 2, she asked me, "Why didn't you go to the emergency? Why didn't you go to the emergency instead of waiting it out for so long?" I was like, I had no clue I had to go to the emergency. That's how naive I was. That's how uh, unaware I was of what's to be done, because I felt she should have told me about this, right? If there's anything, you need to be going to the emergency. Anyway, she got me admitted. They put the CTG on. I didn't have any pains at all. They checked me. They and then they were monitoring the baby's heart rate, and then they figured out in the monitor they figured out that the heart rate is going low, somewhere on 70, 60. They said this will be an emergency C-section. I had panicked, like I didn't know what's happening. They took my husband and his mother out, and they told, okay, her heart rate is going to low. The mom's and the baby's lives are in danger. We might as well get the C-section done. My husband signed the papers, and everything was so rapid. I didn't know what was happening. I was wheeled to the OT. I was changed. I was wheeled. I had absolutely no clue what was happening. And yeah, I was given general anesthesia, and my eyes were shut. The surgery happened. The baby was out. I was in a lot of pain. The surgery happened around 1, 2, yeah, around 2. I was awake in 2 hours, but then I was in immense pain. You have to change beds and come back to your room. I was kept under monitor. I didn't know what had happened. I had no clue. I mean, it was very hard. It was very hard recovering from that
Of course,
surgery.
of course. Did they tell
Yeah.
you, the fetal heart rate was low? And were you able to see that on the monitor as well? And also, did they kind of tell you what the reason was? Was there meconium? Was there something else? Was there some sort of
Nothing.
nothing? You weren't told.
Nothing.
Mm.
I didn't even ask. I didn't know if I had to ask all of this. Just that the doctor said emergency C-section, and everyone, if they're telling that the mom's and the baby's life is in danger, everybody got scared, and
Yeah.
they just signed the paper, and I was gone
Mm.
to have a cesarean.
Mm.
Later, it's now that I know the mistakes that she did was, number one, she did an early vaginal check. No
Mm.
one's supposed to do an vaginal check at week 35, which possibly gave me an infection, which broke my water bag. Like now, when I am knowledgeable enough, I know the mistakes that she did. And if I had a water break, I could have waited it at home than going to the hospital. I should have waited. The women who wait for days now, they wait for 1 week, they wait for 2 weeks, even after water break,
Mm.
and they let labor unfold. Like
Begin, yeah, on
it
its own.
happened. But I didn't know this. Like, I had no clue about this.
Yeah.
It's now I know that I that I do all of this. But then yeah, those days don't come back, and I don't get to wait, and I don't get to. I mean, it just you can't reverse time, you can't rewind time.
Yeah, and it's for a reason that, things happen and they help us realize a few other things and leads to another story. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. In fact, I remember the nurses were also not being kind and patient. They were giving me the IV, and it was hurting me, and their response was like, "Didn't your father hit you when you were small? You're crying over this, like बचपन में किसी ने मारा नहीं तेरे को जो तेरे को ये दर्द हो रहा है." So this was their response.
Oh
Just
God.
just minutes before my surgery. I feel that's very rude.
That's rude. That's unfair. That's not what you go to the hospitals for. You go for your safety and not to be treated like no, not humans. Like we were all
Yeah, and
human beings.
especially when you're paying so much. My births have been in private hospitals over here, so I'm paying for a birth. I'm paying to be educated to have a good birth, and what they give you in return is something opposite what
Hmm.
you want. Anyways, at birth, they said baby has infection, so they put the baby in an ICU, and I was by myself. They generally start giving formula milk. I had to learn breastfeeding. So whenever I would get a chance to spend with my son, I would try breastfeeding and learn about it. But I gave a mix of both formula and breastfeed. Initially, I didn't know that I would have enough milk for
Mm.
him, and he was admitted for 15 days in the NICU just to get on antibiotics for his infection. Which again, I feel it was a complete scam because all they did was mint money from the NICU bills. I realize that now. And first 5 days, they said that his infection levels are not getting down, and then I started pumping my breast milk from home and sending it to the hospital, and his infection levels started coming down, and he was discharged the next 10 days. Somehow the answer to that question was like he healed because of my breast milk than the antibiotics that you were giving him.
Were you
So I
at
feel I
all
should.
given a chance to see the baby right after birth? Was the baby brought to you? Was there an effort after a few hours to breastfeed, etc., etc.? Did anyone?
No,
Did
not
they?
much.
No.
No,
Um.
I have to keep calling them because the baby is in the nursery, or if it's in NICU or special care, I have to keep calling them to come and show me the baby, or the relatives have come. Everyone wants to see the baby. You have to keep calling them 3 or 4 times. It's not, they don't easily get it. They just do their routine in the nursery. They feed, they formula feed, they put pacifiers in their mouth, they keep the baby shut. They do things that's easy for them. And a
Mm,
long bill comes in your hand just to pay their NICU stay for the per night stay that they have.
mm,
It's crazy.
mm. Should have
uh,
been, like you're saying, your breast milk should have been the first choice to help a baby, even if the baby is in distress or any sort of an infection. The body knows.
yeah.
So it's sad, like always.
Yeah, I did shift to my parents' place, and I would go and visit him every evening when my husband would be coming back from work for the first 15 days. That's how it went while he was being taken care at the
Mm,
hospital. As such, as a child, he didn't feel he was battling anything. He felt completely normal. The separation was hard. I couldn't understand why he's away, but then it was hospital protocol. I didn't want to take any risk or chance. So
yeah, of course. Yeah.
they
As,
discharged him after they
mhm,
discharged him after 15 days, and he was back home. And then we breastfed, we formula fed as a new mom, not knowing, okay, he's crying. Maybe everyone starts passing comments. His stomach is not full. And then, okay, you top it up with another milk. That's how the journey went with my first child.
mm,
I must have gone through postpartum depression. I couldn't believe the birth that I had because the pregnancy was so smooth. I couldn't believe what happened, the way the events rolled out. I wanted answers to the questions. I used to like Google every single day. Water break. What happens after? How long can you wait? Um, what are the
mm,
signs? Do you labor with the water break? These questions were just eating me up from within. I wanted answers to these questions because just to know whether they took the right decision or they took the right call or not. Because all I did was just said yes, 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 and yes to them. Even though I googled, I couldn't find definitive answers. There were medical papers, case papers. I couldn't find answers at that point. So I went about having my second pregnancy. The next year, I changed my doctor, thinking of having a normal birth. I didn't go to the same one, and this time it was a relative. And she told me this fetus of yours has a lot of congenital disorders like hydrocephalus, spina bifida. So she gave me the suggestion it's better if you drop it, like if you abort the fetus, because this in a hydrocephalus the head is big, and for sure this is cesarean. For sure this is a C-section. With a big head, you cannot deliver normally. And I was chasing for a normal birth. I
mm.
wanted to have a normal birth. And with so many disorders, it's very rare. It's very rare that the baby survives. Have a loss at some point or the other, and those things. I mean, it put my
Yeah.
heart off. I'm like, I have to go through cesarean for a baby that I
Mm,
have to lose, and I'm like, I don't think so I can do this all over again. It's a lot of pain.
mm,
Uh, my mom was not happy with the decision. She's like, I'll take care, like whatever. Like, I don't want to go through another cesarean.
mm,
But somehow, me and my husband, we came to the decision, okay, we will abort the fetus. So
mm.
in Kuwait, I think it takes a long while. I just traveled to India in Mumbai, where I went and I aborted. Uh, Over there, they gave me a high dose of pitocin. Initially, they started to put pills in my vagina, but in my uterus, my friend came and she supported me as well. My contractions were not catching up. was taking a long time. So they gave me intravenous pitocin for very strong contractions. And it did occur to me. That was my first exposure of what a normal birth feels like. But it was very painful because those contractions didn't give me a break. It was continuous
Continuous.
pain. Yeah. And I kept asking them after 3, 4 hours, I kept asking them, I need a break. I'm exhausted. Can I just go home? I'll come back tomorrow. But they said, no, we'll just get over this. They didn't give me a break
Mm.
at all. And somehow after a while I stayed shut. I could bear it. I think my body hit a plateau and I could get used to it. And I birthed the baby after 7, 8 hours at around 9, 10 o'clock. I had to dilate 5 centimeters for the
Mm.
termination to happen. And that happened again. That was hard. I terminated. Everything was clear. I didn't have to go through a DNC. I'm
Touch
happy
wood.
about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. They kept me monitoring for a while. I didn't want to stay in the hospital. I just wanted to get back home and go to my son who was at home waiting. My first son who was waiting for me at home.
Mm.
So yeah, I went back home and I traveled back to Kuwait in few weeks. Following the next pregnancy I had in the next year, um, yeah, which turned into a miscarriage.
Mm.
This was again, I went to the same doctor. The doctor had changed. This miscarriage happened at 2 months. I started bleeding, so I visited her. She admitted me. She gave me
Progesterone.
yeah, progesterone, yeah, just to
Mm.
stop the bleeding. But I was still cramping on the bed, and
Mm.
doctor told me not a problem. You can take a discharge. If the fetus is to survive, it will survive. If it is not to survive,
It
it
won't.
will be a miscarriage no matter what. So you can
That's
take this medicines
wise.
and you can go home.
Yeah, that's wise
Yeah,
because it's true. The body is wise to take its own decisions. If the fetus is not to
yeah,
survive, the body actually um does naturally miscarry it. And
yeah. I came back home. I went to the washroom and I was passing urine, and I felt the ball of clot just fall out in the washroom.
uh,
So I miscarried that fetus and I was bleeding. That same year, I remember I had my school's. I remember you asked me this question: how did I cope with that miscarriage? I had my school's best friend wedding, and I remember telling her that I've conceived. I don't think I'll be able to make it to your wedding in Mumbai. And somehow I had the miscarriage, so I felt I was free. So I just got up in a month. I booked my tickets to India. My mom was in India. So I booked my tickets to India and I went for a marriage. So it was it was a change in scenario for me. It was something that changed my mood, and then it took me a long while to conceive. In these phases, in these hard journeys, somewhere my husband had given up. He felt he had he had another colleague at work who said once a genetic disorder is always a genetic disorder. I mean, the chances of having it again is quite high. But I didn't want to lose faith. I had hope. I mean, I wanted
mm,
another sibling for my first child.
mm,
Um, so 2014. So my firstborn is in 2009. 5 years later, after years of convincing him, okay, I'm
mm.
ready for another baby. I want to have another baby. I conceived my second baby, and I was very serious about having a VBAC. This time I was reading as well. I knew VBAC is easier to have than on the internet. That's the information given. A VBAC is easy, but then if you're going to have it after 2 or 3 cesareans, then it gets riskier. So like this is my best hit
Chance.
at having a
Yeah.
VBAC, chance of having a VBAC, and I want to have a VBAC. So I started my journey. I conceived. I spoke to my doctor. I want to have a VBAC. She said, "Yeah, we will try, and I'll let you. I mean, I will not induce you, but I'll let you naturally labor. I'll let you
Mm.
wait all the way till 40 weeks, and I'll let you labor." And I was happy that she's going to give me a chance, and it's going to happen this time. The pregnancy was again very smooth. I went all the way 38 weeks. Yeah, 38 weeks. She told me, I'll give you 2 more weeks. She told me, walk morning half an hour, evening half an hour. I started doing that. Morning half an hour, evening half an hour. My thighs were toned. I was losing weight. I was feeling good about my body. But there was no sign of labor,
Mm.
nothing. At 38 weeks, she even asked my husband in the other room, "Is she really walking?" I was like, "Yeah, yeah, of course. I've never seen her walking so diligently every day. She is walking."
That's again
Because,
something to pinpoint, that we feel that we can predict or control the process, wherein it's
yeah,
spiritually controlled. It's whatever gets, whatever force that there is that makes a baby, of course, that is in control. Nothing else is in control.
yeah. It's sad the way they trick you. You don't even realize, you know. And again, I was unaware of what the process of birth is. I mean, it's taboo talking about sex, talking about birth in our cultures. She again did an ultrasound. Towards the end, they do ultrasounds. In private over here, they do ultrasounds every month. That's how they check your baby. And towards the end, they call you after every 2 weeks. And completely at the end, like they call you weekly for
Hmm.
ultrasound to check on the baby. That's how it
Hmm.
works over here. It's now I realize you don't need ultrasounds.
At
I
all.
somehow feel, yeah, I somehow realize even the genetic disorder that I had could be a possibility of
Too many
ultrasound
ultrasounds.
hitting the tissue, ultrasound hitting the tissues and giving those disorders. And I'm like, what I regret not knowing all of this, but then I was completely unaware.
But everybody is
Uh,
unaware, Mubina. It's
yeah,
this is an information that's not easy to find. If you go ahead and even look at research papers, 90%
yeah,
of research papers will say ultrasounds are safe. Then you'll find a couple of unsponsored, real, authentic research papers that will tell you. And it's simple, right? It's simple, and yet it's difficult to. I wasn't aware when I had my first pregnancy. I was
yeah,
also not a birth worker. So, we were sure that we're not going to have a Wi-Fi next to me, not having a phone next to me. I was in a space where I worked with the smart meters. They make smart meters, so there's a lot of RF radiation. I was sure I'm not going to be around that radiation. But ultrasounds are safe. We're brainwashed like that.
yeah. Then 39 weeks, she told me the water around the baby is reducing. And then she started to explain to my husband. My husband is big built and I'm small built. She told me, your husband's big built and you are small built. So the baby could be big and might not come down your pelvis. And there could be a possibility of the baby having a shoulder dystocia. I never heard that term.
Mm,
I'm like, what is she saying? And this is freaking me out.
yeah.
Yeah, there could be a possibility of shoulder dystocia. So I think it's better we do a cesarean. I was so upset on that day. I thought there's nothing more that can
And
happen.
what
I
was
think
the
I'm
weight
chased.
of the baby, if I can ask?
The baby that was born, she was just 3.1, 3.2 kgs. My babies are just, yeah, this small, between 2.5. Even my first son who was born, she told me the baby is big now to come. The baby is going rapidly, and he was born with the emergency C-section at 2.8 kgs.
Fear mongering at its best. And Indian babies are small.
We have Arab babies over here who grow. I mean, who are born at 4 kgs and 4.5 kgs. So that's the average over here.
4.8. We had a
Yeah,
woman who birthed her baby somewhere around 4.8, and we didn't even weigh the baby after the birth. When we weighed 2 days later, it was 4.6. So we were like 200, 10% gain plus 10%. So yeah, somewhere around 4.8.
yeah.
It's possible.
Now we know it. Yes.
Hmm.
Uh, and I didn't question. She gave me the date around her birth was Feb 14. I'm like, okay,
Hmm.
this is gonna be a Valentine baby. But Feb 14 was a Friday. Uh,
Hmm.
so I chose because Friday it's a holiday year. There'll be additional charges for the birth. So I chose Feb 13, and I had my cesarean. Again, I didn't want to give up. I always remember my drive to the hospitals. I like, don't take me to the hospital, take me somewhere away. But I didn't know that the answers I was hunting were within me.
Hmm.
That my body is capable. I don't need the permission of anyone else to birth uh, normally. I didn't know at that point again. So I birthed her. Yeah, I birthed her. She was born normal, healthy, mashallah, at 3.2 kgs. And I
40th
discharged. I
week?
came back.
Was it
Yeah,
40th
40th
week?
week. According to her 40th week, but I don't trust it. I feel the dates that she's given me are like 1 month. prior to my cesarean. I'm back home. I gave up on my VBAC journey. I felt it didn't happen now. It's not going to happen again. It's never going to happen again. So I shut those chapters in me. I was not ready to open those chapters again, to break my heart again. Like, I didn't want to open them again. But somewhere I felt something is wrong. But then I tried to keep myself happy by saying, okay, I have a baby. There are women struggling to have babies, and I shouldn't be complaining. I should be happy with what I have. I should just let it go. Maybe this journey was not meant for me. Though, even though it was eating me up from within. Can you imagine? The fire was still there within me, but there was no place to vent it out. Like,
To point out that it does impact a woman's sense of herself to not be
yes,
given a chance at birth.
yeah. This time the hospital had a breastfeeding campaign, and there were nurses. There's some beautiful nurses who educated me on breastfeeding.
This is the
So this
same
was a change
hospital,
over here.
or you
No, I
choose another?
changed. It was the relative that I went to. I changed the hospital. Because they were running a breastfeeding campaign, they came and they taught me how breastfeeding is done. They told me a mama's milk is enough for the baby. They didn't bottle feed the baby. The formula, they fed it through a cup. So I was very inquisitive in seeing how they do it. So in my stitches, I went all the way from my room to the nursery to see how they do it.
And before that, with the first birth, the baby was fed with a bottle, was it?
Yeah, that was a bottle. That was bottle and
Good.
pacifier, yes.
And that
Yeah. Otherwise,
hospital is
generally it's
doing,
bottle that they used.
which is
Yeah.
against the recommendation.
I think it's protocol over here. They don't follow. It's life made easy for everyone. They get their bills and the hospital is running.
Convenience over
uh,
evidence, even.
yeah,
Mhm.
no one bothers, no one cares. Uh, so over here, there were two nurses. I remember. Uh, they taught me to breastfeed. Like, they literally held my breast in my hand. They showed me how to breastfeed. They were there till the baby fed. The sounds that the baby should make, how the sound should be while feeding.
Mm.
So they completely strengthened my knowledge on breastfeeding. And I understood, okay, the baby doesn't need formula. All I have to do is feed the baby. And this is very easy. I don't have to sterilize bottles. I don't have to heat milk. I don't have to heat water. All our headache is off. All I have to do is put the baby on the breast and feed the baby. I can sleep and feed. I can sit and feed. I can roll and feed. I can do whatever I want. I feel that journey is easier.
Absolutely. Later, it's a boon.
I thoroughly enjoyed the breastfeeding journey. The only thing you would feel stuck in, like, okay, I can't do anything. Baby's constantly asking for a feed. But then you get used to it. If you have the right support, I think you can. It's just a 2 year journey. You can enjoy it. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. And initially, I did doubt a bit, but I'm like, okay, the more I'm feeding her, the more milk I'm producing, and she's having wet diapers. And babies cry, but they cry for other reasons. It's not only for milk. They cry for other reasons, so I can pacify them in other ways, and I don't have to always worry that, okay, I need to top that milk with something else. And
That's
it
the
worked. I
power.
understood.
Yes, that's the power of knowledge, of knowing what
Yes.
is happening. Yes.
Then next pregnancy again, 2 years later, next year, first son, then daughter. I'm gonna have a daughter again. My first son was a little upset. He wanted to have a brother. Okay,
Mm.
I'm fine with any gender that is uh, gonna come.
Mm.
Uh, Normal birth came back to me again, but I was scared to open those chapters again.
Mm.
Um, I knew I'm heading for another cesarean. I'm not fighting it this time. Though before the surgery, once I did ask her, can we try a normal birth this time? And she said, no, no, this time you'll tear. I mean, just straight off, she said no. Straight away, she said no. I didn't even think of changing doctors because number one, she's a relative. Number two, she did a good job on the cesarean. I
Mm.
mean, I didn't feel, I mean, it's painful, yes, but
Mm.
uh, once the surgery hands are comfortable, you're comfortable with someone's hand, you're okay continuing with those hands. You don't want to try another doctor to operate you, and then you think, oh my god, I
Right.
don't know how she'll operate me and what she'll
Mhm.
do and whether she'll stitch me back properly, or
Mm. Yeah.
those doubts start coming. Like, okay, I'm comfortable with her hands. I'll go back to her again.
I want to
I didn't.
ask, because you had now this time chosen to undergo a surgery. Now, was there some sort of a fear mongering at all? Like, were you scared that the baby is going to be big? Anything of that sort? Did the doctor this time scare you with anything?
No, no. By then she had gained my trust, and she knew I'm going for another cesarean. She didn't have to put any effort after that, but she knew she had the trust of mine, my husband's. So I tried to read stories again off the net, trying to hunt for vaginal birth after two cesarean. But everywhere it wrote, it's risky. It's not possible. It's risky. It's not possible. I couldn't come with any real stories anywhere. So towards the end, I had a lot of aggressive itching this time on my third pregnancy. My whole body was very itchy, and I just figured out
Mm.
like there are some people who go through a lot of itching.
Did the doctor look at your diet when there was a lot of itching? Did the doctor check your diet?
Nothing
Yeah.
at all.
Itching usually
Just
happens when the liver is over functioning.
cholestasis, right?
Yeah, cholestasis. Yeah. Liver is over
I
functioning and
I read that now. Okay.
yeah.
No, she didn't even mention this term. In fact, I learn about it now myself. I think I've become a half guy now, just learning learning the flaws in my pregnancy.
You've become a better birth, like you've become a birth keeper. You've become the right support
Yeah.
for women who want to birth by just knowing how we can work with these basic things without drugs. Like itching,
Yeah,
yes,
true.
mostly with just herbs and diet changes. It fixes itself.
Okay. Okay. In fact, all she gave me was calamine lotion to apply to the body, but it didn't help. The cooling lotion, it
Mm,
didn't help. So just one day I got fed up with the itch and I told because my delivery was just few days later.
mm,
I told her, I think I'm done. You might as well birth my baby and just get over with this. Because a cesarean, you can choose any date, and the doctors are very excited to give you a fancy date and choose your
mm,
date. It's like a big thing, you know. I'm like,
mm.
what's with the date? I'm okay with any. She told me the day I went to her, it was a 5, 10, 15. So
Oh,
even
she
that's a very fancy date
proposed
for
a date. Wow,
me.
fantastic.
So 5, 10, 15. I'm like, no, 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 I'll come tomorrow morning because I'm very comfortable having births like early in the morning. That's how they have been.
Mm,
I'm like, no,
mm,
I'm not coming for an afternoon birth. I'll come next day morning, and it was 38 weeks. So I went in the morning, I birthed her. She seen my itching that day because you take off your clothes and she seen like the baby came out. She came out pink, mashallah, and she was fine. She was born at again 2.9 kgs. And this time I knew I didn't need a bottle feed though because you're in stitches, you're in pain. You can't just start breastfeeding,
mm.
and you need support. Even though I tried, I told the nurse you can get the baby. I tried in a couple of positions to breastfeed her, but then to recover from stitches, it takes some time to get over the pain.
Yeah. With
Uh,
anesthesia, also, you can't get up. So you need someone to put the baby on you. You can't raise your
yeah,
head. So
and
someone to position the baby for you. That amount of
yeah,
help is required. Yes.
yeah, it's required. And sometimes the nurses want to help you, they don't want to help you, and I go through a lot of coughing with the from the side effects of anesthesia, so I have to get that treated.
Mm,
Um, yeah, but then this time I wanted the baby with me. The first time I wanted the baby with me and not more in the nursery, and I wanted to breastfeed the baby
yeah.
from the get go, and I wanted to start feeding, but depending on how I was recovering. So I would call the baby more often, and she was more with me than in the nursery. And then I discharged, and I only breastfed her after coming back home. I never bought. I didn't. I mean, you get some free samples, formula samples. I think I just must have used one or two
Okay. So
because
uh, formula samples are given to every woman after birth.
yeah, yeah,
That's a way of formula marketing, which is not okay.
yeah, yeah.
Also, a protocol to keep every baby in the nursery, not okay. That's not recommended anymore, or should have
Uh,
never been
I think
recommended anyway.
it should not be. Yeah, I know, but I think private hospital, that's not the way it works. They just separate you and they don't want to give the baby to you. You have to keep on calling. And it becomes like, you're pampered, then it becomes ease and convenience. So if there's someone to take care, then like, okay, let me just rest and I'll
Mm,
go home and take care. That's the way you feel.
yeah,
And I think
that's right.
women are not educated about the whole thing. They feel, okay, they're making life easy for you. But in reality, they're not. They're separating you from your child, and they're breaking your instinct, the mother baby diet or the mother baby relationship that's supposed to be. They're breaking that just so that they can make money out of it.
Yeah, and so women face the repercussions of that by having anxiety. There is no answer for so much postpartum anxiety. It's postpartum anxiety. I do not think it's because women are achievers today, or women go out and work, or women want certain things their way, it's because they're not getting what they should ideally get out of birth. Like you said, so right, that the maternal instincts are suppressed and hence they're depressed. Their body knows that it has to be there. It's because of bad birth experiences that women don't even realize sometimes. We don't have the words to express it, and anxiety is a result of that. Women, all their
Yeah.
lives, even in the times when we were tribals or we were in the villages, women were always working at home, outside home, everywhere. It doesn't matter. Absolutely doesn't.
At every of these births, I felt there'll be some. I used to pray. I felt some miracle will happen. I will birth normally. Some miracle will happen. I used to pray to God, but I didn't have answers. I just next birth. Next birth again was 2 years later. My first son had prayed for a brother, and this time it was a boy. He was gonna have a brother. So I had a boy, two girls. In fact, soon, inshallah. Again, I went to the same doctor. I didn't know I had to change doctors. So I again went to the same doctor, thinking it's going to be another cesarean, but not wanting a cesarean. I didn't have any stories. I didn't have any women around who would
Inspire
tell
you
me any
or yeah.
stories that would think, yeah.
Mm.
And I went about again. This pregnancy was completely normal. I asked her again before the surgery. Um, I asked her, can I try for a normal birth? I'm exhausted. I don't like the cesareans. I mean, the surgeries are exhausting. I don't want to be on the operating table again. I don't want to be on the operating table. She refused. She's like, no, I mean, your surgery, again, the response was the same. You will tear, the scar will tear, and the same reason. It didn't occur to me, I possibly to switch doctors. I felt every doctor will give me the same reason. So I just carried on 38 weeks again. I birthed my son. Everything was fine, it was normal. And this time after the birth, I tried to again keep the baby with me as much, and I think the last baby stayed with me the most. I barely sent him to the nursery because now I know how to take care. I'm excited. I want to take care of the baby, and I'll breastfeed. That was my fourth birth. And after that, I was done with surgeries. I never thought. And I had a growing goiter as well, which I had to get it operated.
Mm.
So I knew I had to go for another surgery after this. And after that, I
Mm.
got my thyroid surgery done because I had a very huge goiter.
Mm.
The next year, I think I took rest for a year or two, and I went for my thyroid surgery. And I never thought of, I never thought of getting pregnant again. I thought I'm done with surgeries. I think I should be done. But I had a lot of questions, and those questions I wanted answers to them. I couldn't stop chasing those questions. I wanted to know why it happened, what was wrong. I couldn't stop. There's a fire in me. I couldn't stop. Those questions would come back to my mind almost every single day, and I was hunting for those answers. I didn't want to go about asking people, and people thinking I'm crazy. So I would just search on the net, and one fine day I came across. Uh, Support groups on Facebook, VBA 4C plus forum and discussion, and stories on Instagram, stories on podcast. And then I heard a free birthing story after 5 cesareans. I was exposed to the free birthing world, and I started looking all of that. I started reading these stories every morning with a cup of tea. I'm like, okay, I'm like, okay, whatever happened with me doesn't look right. And one by one, I started to look for those answers. Someone's wait after water break off for 5 days. Someone's waited for months and was fine. And you're not supposed to do a vaginal check that gives infection. One by one, I was like, all those years were rolling out, and I was slowly getting answers to my questions. They're like, vaginal birth after 2 cesareans happen, after 3 cesareans happen. People are doing it after 5. And I'm like Googling every morning, vaginal birth after multiple cesareans. I'm like, I felt bad that I stopped my hunt after 2 cesareans. I like, oh my god, maybe I used to even check when was this information updated on the internet, and did I miss it at
Mm.
any point, and why did I stop hunting? I still had doubts. I don't know if I'll have a normal birth. Maybe I'm just too excited about this. And let's see whenever if I get pregnant or. if I'm serious about this journey. I was not sure again. Though I would share everything with my husband, with my friends. I like, see, this is wrong, this is right. And then 5 years later, after my son, I conceived again.
Wow.
This time with a lot of knowledge. This is my home birth story. So this time with a lot of knowledge. In the meanwhile, and
Were you on thyroid medications then?
yeah, I'm on thyroid medication. Yes.
Okay.
After my thyroid surgery, yes, I'm on thyroid medication. Taking 150 of thyroid, yes. And it's genetic because my mom has it. So she had to be operated. So it was genetic cause. I got it. In between, my sister has been through home births in Canada. They were home births for her with a midwife. So she didn't share much information, but then I had a rough idea, okay, of how it goes. And I was parts of BBA4C groups and vaginal birth after multiple cesarean, home births. I was reading a lot. I was reading from the start, but this time it was almost every single day I was reading and educating. I loved birth stories. I used to read one birth story every day, share it with the world. I used to just read
Yeah.
birth stories. And I didn't like the regular ones. I like the ones where women are challenging the system. Like, don't give me the regular ones. I'll not read those.
Yeah.
I visited the same doctor again who did my 3 cesareans. I took all my stories. I took all my stories on WhatsApp. I went to visit her. First 2 appointments, I think I was not so confident enough in speaking to her because she rejected me so many times. But I gathered the courage. I'm like, okay, I'm going to speak to her. I have got stories where I told her where vaginal birth after 4 cesareans is possible. Please, can you look at my stories? I wish to try, And she told me, she didn't even ask me, I want to see the stories. Like, no, those women are very lucky. She told me, I'll be put to jail for trying this.
Okay. So she was under a protocol. She was scared of litigation, so she wouldn't let you even if you want. So it's not about you. It's about what governs and guides her. She didn't even look at the
That's not
stories, did
fair.
she?
Okay. I said,
Definitely
no,
not
none of them
fair.
looked at the stories.
Mm.
No, none of them looked. I
Well,
still tried
hats
to
off to
swap
you.
doctors.
But before you go ahead, hats off to you to take that evidence and show it to her.
Yeah. I'll like, okay, I'll go visit few other doctors in Kuwait. Let me see. I took my stories again to all of them. I visited one where she told me, is that the reason you came to me? Whatever you're trying is very risky. Uh, I have stories. It does happen. I don't have one stories. I have more than 10 stories now. And it does happen. And I got in touch with all those women who had successful vaginal births. And some were Muslims, some were Christians. Yeah, I got in touch with them on Instagram. I spoke to them and they were like, God is powerful. Your baby will come out in one mighty blow. You won't even realize. He gave me such encouraging words. They spoke to me just for free. They just spoke to me. I didn't even know who these women were all around the world.
Yeah.
Like amazing. And I'm going to do this. I changed doctor. She told me, your scar will tear, your abdomen will tear, baby will fall in the abdomen, you will die, baby will die.
Hmm.
I walked out and go back. So I understood it's not happening in Kuwait. I'm like, okay, not Kuwait. I sat, my husband would go to work. And like for me, it's like research every single day. I chose every country in the world, from America to Canada to Australia, New Zealand. I found a birth keeper or a supporter in every country. I checked their costs. I sent emails to them finding for a birth center. Every single country. And
I
my
love
husband
that.
would come in the evening. Okay. Crazy.
We
My
need
husband
that
comes in the
craziness. We need that craziness so much.
yeah. I would find Instagram accounts, follow anything and everything, read stories, get in touch. A lot. I should compile all the things that I did. It would be so much.
Yes,
Okay, my husband
please.
come in the evening.
Mhm.
My husband come. Okay, America. This is the cost. Can I go? I can't afford this. He was investing in maybe not America. I'll check other places where the cost is less. So one evening would be New Zealand, one evening would be Canada, where my sister is. I told my sister to check with her midwife, so she told me I checked with my midwife, but they said no. After 2 cesareans, it's very risky. We don't try. I think
Hmm.
the medicalized midwives.
Yes, they
I have to
won't.
find for someone who's non-medicalized and who will be ready to take me on.
Yeah.
He said no, this is not affordable, this is not affordable. It went on. I was getting very angry and very frustrated, but some point in between, I gave up also. I like, forget it. Why am I troubling him? Why do I want him to pour so much money? I might as well just go for another cesarean. And maybe this is my last baby. What's the point of fighting right now? I mean,
Mm.
just finish it off with one more cesarean and get over it. No, I couldn't do it. I couldn't. Then I came across Shaima's birth profile on Instagram. I asked her. I thought maybe India is a cheaper option, but India was just worried ki, medical help, how fast it will come. Midwifery system is not in place, so that was a bit of a worry for me. So now, like, as long as it happens anywhere, I'm okay. I just want a normal birth. I want a peaceful birth. So I spoke to Shaima. I wanna have a birth after 4 cesareans. Do you know anyone in India who can help me? And she told me, yeah, I have a lady who can help you, I think. And Tapasya,
Yeah.
okay, I can talk to. That's how. And we exchanged numbers, and yeah, I messaged Tapasya. She told me, let's talk. And I spoke to her. She was so calm. I love her. I still love her.
Mm. Yes.
Uh, and she told me, yeah, if you're ready, if you're on, if you think you can do it, I'm ready to support your birth. And around your birth, I will be in Nanded. I'll be around Pune. So I think this should happen in June. I'm like, okay, I asked her charges, and they were affordable. And I spoke to my husband. He said, okay, this sounds affordable. I can take it. So like, okay, first positive, something that he told me a yes to. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to any hospital now. I stopped chasing doctors over here. I started making preparations, thinking when I would go to India, at what week airlines and they allow, at what week they allow. So I got my papers. I decided to travel somewhere around fourth month, and uh, my sister had births in Canada just few months back, so my mom was with her. So I wanted someone with me I wanted mom with me in India. So I wanted her to finish her birth and then come to me in India, because my husband can't stay for so long, for 2 3 months with me. He has to come back to work over here.
Mm.
So all he did, he dropped me to Pune. I booked my tickets. I reached Pune in April end. He stayed with me for a week, and my mom came when he left. The same day, my mom came. My mom came.
So
She
your
came to
m-
Kuwait, and then she came to.
okay, so your mom and your husband were on board because they had seen that your sister had already birthed.
Um, my mom was initially, when she heard, she was in Canada and she heard I'm doing such a thing. She was not on board. She like, oh my god, why she wants to do such a thing? Like, if anything happens to her or the baby, the whole blame will be on my head. She was not on board. Like, she
Okay.
needed preparation. She needed mental preparation, and she
Mm-hmm.
had to be prepared for the whole scenario. But then I was like, let her come, because I had still had 4 months in hand. And by then I had started, Tapasya had started giving me birth classes. Like, we
Mm.
used to have online sessions, and like couple of sessions we'll have in Pune, and she used to teach me about birth. But I had read a lot, but I was still sitting and listening to her. I was enjoying listening to her, and any birth information is not enough. It's still a learning curve. Even if it's repeated
Yeah.
50 times, 100 times, you're stronger with it. You're ready to hear it. I was hearing it from her. And simultaneously, I had doula friends over here. I met doula friends over here. He said, "Yeah, this is totally possible." So, along with Tapasya, I was consulting various other doula friends as well and checking if this will really happen. Like, yeah, it's gonna happen. Get up, go to India, and it will be done. In fact, I had a friend from South Africa as well who gave me a contact, and I was still like, I'm ready to go to South Africa as well for the birth. And I had a midwife over there who does home births. I think India is more feasible because we have a home there and it would be easy.
Mm.
So I'm like, okay, let's go India. So my mom comes in. We all settle in Pune. My husband has bought a house in Pune like 5 6 years back. So we all settle over there, and it's new. My kids are there. Everyone's there. We have gone for vacations. We're enjoying the. It was April, May, so mango season. We're enjoying the mango season, and these things you don't get in Kuwait because it's a desert. You don't get a lot of fruits. So
Yeah.
there's so many things that we enjoy, and we enjoy shopping in India. So of India, I met Tapasya. Yeah, I met Tapasya. Told her my husband's here for 1 week. I think if you can come and visit. She came. She visited, and that's where she sat and she spoke of birth, and she prepared my husband and my mom. On and off, doubts would come. But then,
That's
if there was
natural.
anything, you would, yeah, it's natural. You feel anxiety. You feel, I don't know if it's right what I'm doing. This is really going to happen, or is it risky? Am I going to die? Is the baby going to die? These thoughts do come. Then I started. I started because I was even doing another Amani course. I was enrolled in another Amani birth course. So I was like, okay, I'm going to invest my time in gaining birth knowledge in whatever way possible. So I was doing these courses, and they were preparing you on how, like, have a backup, have a hospital backup, have a doctor backup, just in case if anything goes wrong. So I like, okay, my husband left me and my mom. I went for 2, 3 appointments in Pune,
To the doctor,
telling them, yeah, to the doctors,
just to register
just
yourself.
to yeah, just to register and just to check. Okay, let me see what's the scenario over here.
Poor,
So yeah, I mean,
horrible.
the hospital. In fact, it's a renowned hospital. I was aware it's not going to be all that great, but I felt since it's India, I'll find someone who would be advocating for natural births, or maybe they would hear me because it's a huge country and it wouldn't be as bad as Kuwait. How can she starts scaring me eventually? How are you going for a there for fifth cesarean? This is very risky. We don't do more than 3 cesareans in India, and the chance of you all dying. And she started scaring me on the get-go itself. In fact, she scared mom as well. I'm like, oh god, why did I come here? And she said, go back from wherever you have come. All these things don't happen here.
Mm.
I walked out from the hospital. I still gathered the courage to visit 1 or 2 more. They told me such women. I took my evidences. Like, they don't even want to see it. Like, nobody even asked me to see it. Like, they just told me those women are lucky. You can come over here. We can do your fifth cesarean. Then the other doctor I met, she has done 5 cesareans. I can do your cesarean. Come for your fifth cesarean. So whenever it's end of turn, like, no, I'm not coming here. That's when I understood. I think I'm chasing the wrong set of people. I don't think so. I'm going to find someone who is supportive. I'm going to end the story here, and I'm going to have a home birth. I'm, I'm not gonna look for support, whatever it is. If I'm to die, I'm gonna die. Whatever it is, I don't want to go back over there. But I trust God. I have faith. I trust in Allah. Everything's gonna be good. Everything's gonna be positive. I started investing in positive birth stories. I used to hear them on repeat just to keep my mind frame uh, in a positive light. And Tapasya told me, you will not find anyone supportive. My husband did recommend, like, go and see Omarji in Pune, which is like 2, 3 hours away. And I told him, I'm done. I can't travel. This is exhausting. I can't travel. I can't travel hours just to hear a no, or just to hear go back from wherever you have come. Or, I mean, I don't. It's too much to take on your mental health. I don't want to hear all
Absolutely.
of this.
At this point, I do want to
I'm
point out what you spoke about just before the story, that there are two sorts of midwives, but one has to really understand what they're getting into when they choose any support person. So, for example, Tapasya is a traditional midwife. She works for the women
Yeah,
completely on how they want to be supported, and
yeah,
it's a responsibility that the parents choose for themselves,
yes,
because birth is, yes, uncertain, but yes, it's powerful, yes, it's magical, and yes, things can definitely, for most part, they'll go well. For that 1%,
yes,
you can't put yourself through a knife, you know. So
yeah,
that surrender comes with it, and that also comes with a medical midwife. That means midwives that are trained under medical, and they're
medical,
licensed. So when a midwife
yeah,
is licensed, she is answerable to the government, to the protocols, to the hospitals, and to the institutions that have given her a license. So she may not be able to support the woman in her integrity. If a woman does not want a drug in a certain situation, but the protocol binds the midwife to do it, a licensed midwife will have to do it, because it's the same thing for the doctors and the midwives, those who are licensed, because they have to answer. So they'll choose themselves over you at times. So it's very important to know and talk and understand these differences when you're choosing the person. Traditional midwives will choose you, and then also one person is different from the other. So it's very important to energetically feel with the person. And those are the things that I don't see a lot when we hire
Yeah.
someone.
I absolutely loved her care. I loved her approach. I aspire to be her.
Yes,
I mean,
that's what I said. A pioneering movement to, for women to start supporting each other, and those stories that have come out, they will help women start trusting themselves.
yeah, a couple of meets from her. I was in touch with her through. She was busy with her mom as well. Her mom was cancer patient at that point, and she was
Mhm.
helping her mom out. But then she was always available to speak, and any doubts I had to answer those questions. Things are going fine. We were progressing. The doctor in Kuwait, the cesarean doctor in Kuwait, she gave me a due date for the fifth cesarean on my fifth cesarean because I was going to her, and I'm guessing she was looking. I am again asking for a normal birth, so she booked my date in the beginning of the pregnancy. So she said June 3 will be your fifth cesarean, and June 3 will be your fifth cesarean, and June 17 will be around the time when you complete your 40 weeks, or that's the way she marked it on the calendar. So June 17 is your last date because it's a cesarean. We'll do it 3 weeks earlier, so June 3 is your last date. And keeping those dates in mind, I told my husband in June. My birth will happen in June, maybe in July, but June it should wind off, and it will be better if you take the month of June off. So June comes in, I'm going with the flow. Yeah, I got one ultrasound paper in those checkups because I think in India you can't do an ultrasound till you don't have a doctor's approval.
Hmm.
And I went and I got the ultrasound done somewhere in May 17. I still remember the date also on the ultrasound
And
page. I got it done.
you didn't have the regular ultrasounds done with the doctors this time?
The monthly were done. Everything was
Mhm.
fine.
Okay.
The monthly were done. I had known the sex of the baby in Kuwait itself. It's going to be a girl. So all that was fine. I didn't go for the anomaly scan. I didn't turn up for that because I didn't want to see any doctor. So I didn't turn up for that. And by then I had understood. I had read about these scans are not important and ultrasounds. You can skip your anomaly scan. Others before that, I used to be like date to date and never skipped anything. But towards the end, by my third, fourth pregnancy, I wouldn't go monthly. I would like try to drag it till 1.5, 2 months. I would go and see the doctor after 2 months. There's already so much to do. Like you can't keep running to the hospital monthly, and if
Exactly.
everything's fine, you don't want so many checkups for yourself.
Mhm.
You are gonna turn up on your cesarean date. I mean, I was okay with that. But then, yeah, even the pills, I could not take them daily. There's some women who have them daily. I used to read about the pills as well, the iron, calcium, all the
Absolutely. But the thing is, it does put a lot of pressure on the liver. And cholestasis
yeah,
is something that we are seeing a lot these days. I had not heard of it, that it was something as common in pregnancies. And I definitely do
okay,
think that this is the side effect of heavy supplements that women are given without a
yeah,
need.
yeah,
If you need it,
yeah,
of course. If you don't need it, if you need it still, I would go for a natural supplement. Work with the diet first.
yeah,
See, the last resort would be an allopathic pill. But without a need, giving every woman something that is going to put pressure on her liver. mm,
yeah. It's not needed. True. So when I was reading, I did realize natural food, real food is way better than having these supplements. Coming back to my last birth, I did the ultrasound and he told me what is reducing. And I asked him about scar thickness because it was a male dog. I asked him because someone asked me, just check your scar. Again, I knew scar thickness doesn't really matter. And the Seven told me sometimes thin scar stretches easily in labor versus a thick scar, but it's not a certain thing. But I
mm.
was like, okay, just for paper, just to write it down. What's the big deal? But he told me the water is 8 on 10. It's reducing a little. That's what he told. But it's still safe. It was,
8 on
yeah,
10 is not less. It's below 5 that even by medical
yeah,
standards they look at. And towards the end, amniotic fluid does reduce because your baby is big and if the baby is going to
yeah. Baby is
recycle.
growing.
Baby is
Yeah,
going to
common
recycle.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's really not required to tell women, to fear women into thinking that something is wrong with their body.
yeah. Just yeah, everything was normal. Um, I came back home I kept my file ready for just in case if I have to go to the hospital, if there's an emergency, if my husband and Tapasya have to carry me to the hospital. So I kept my file ready, I kept my blood work ready, and I kept the ultrasound ready. And after that was a waiting game. I'm like, I'm not going back to the hospital. May 17 was last. Because I've had so many ultrasound in the past, I did get urges of wanting to go into ultrasound, but then I used to curb it back. I'm like, no, I'm not going anywhere. And then I still tried one more hospital, Motherhood in Pune. Yeah, that's what I remember. Someone told me, go tell them you have had less cesareans. किसी को पता नहीं चल रहा है. बोल दे एक या दो cesarean हुआ है and go see if they are ready to do a VBAC. I tried that as well. I told three cesareans. I omitted one of my child. I told three cesareans के बाद I'm trying after three cesareans. Like no, not even allowed after three. I'm like, जाओ मुझे नहीं चाहिए तुम लोग.
Yeah.
Like I went home after that. At some points, even mom got scared looking at because I was taking her for my appointment. She got scared. She's telling me, why doing this? Let's go back to Kuwait. I mean, let's go get a cesarean done. Why you falling in trouble and things like no, mom, this happens, mom. They're just trying to scare us. The doctors are trying to scare us, and now we don't have to go anywhere. We stay at home, and I'll birth and I'll labor. Uh, Mom was feeling panic, and she was feeling a bit paranoid. Till one morning in June, mom went for a walk downstairs. She was by herself, and she met this auntie in the building, and she told her, "My daughter's doing such a thing. Like, after post cesarean, she's trying for normal birth. People in the building, they're gonna ask you in India, when is delivery happening? दीदी की delivery कब हो रही है? काफी पूछते थे लोग. So I had even know कि okay, किसी को not to tell anyone the due date
Yes.
because people will around the due date keep on asking more. So I was trying to tell mom, कि mom, we like okay, it'll happen June end. That's how we delayed it. Like it'll happen June end. Like somewhere in mid in June, it'll happen June end. So mom disclosed to this auntie कि okay, she's trying for normal birth after four cesareans, and the auntie is like, हाँ होता है. I have a relative in Kurla. Uh, जो चार cesarean के बाद she went to the doctor. I can talk in Hindi, right?
Yes,
It's okay to talk
absolutely.
in
Yeah,
Hindi.
yeah, yeah.
She went to the doctor and the doctor told her, we are not going to do your fifth cesarean. आपकी जगह काटने के लिए आपके बदन पे भी काटने के लिए कोई जगह नहीं है, तो हम लोग आपका fifth cesarean नहीं करेंगे. So husband told her, not a problem. Doctors नहीं कह रहे ना, अपन अल्लाह पे भरोसा करेंगे and हम लोग की delivery, we'll do the delivery at home. And she said, उसकी delivery, she has a healthy girl, baby girl right now, and her delivery, her husband did her delivery at home. And mom was like, okay, she came and told me the story. Like, who's this auntie? Where is this auntie? I want to go and meet her. I want to go and talk to her.
Exactly. My father used to say, my grandfather, मैं उनसे बहुत, I'm very close to him. My grandfather used to say he didn't believe in God. He said God is someone who comes around in a form that guides you on the right path.
That's true. That's the way I felt. I felt this is Allah talking to me. This is Allah. It's gonna happen. These are the answers to my prayers, and I'm gonna see a positive day to this. And I went. I couldn't find her, but after 2 3 days, I did find her. And I spoke to her about the story. Like, can you tell me in details of what happened, how it happened? So she told me, yeah, she went to many doctors and they were not ready to do a cesarean. They told her there's no place to cut. You will die. We're not ready to do this. I think in India they don't do beyond three cesarean.
No.
In the appointment, she did tell me by now we would have tied your tubes and you wouldn't have more kids. And yeah, I'm like, okay, I'm not coming over here.
Yeah, hysterectomy and tubectomy is very common. It's easily suggested because depopulation is also an agenda.
In Kuwait also after four cesareans they start forcing, like they start bullying and harassing you. Can we tie your tubes? Can we tie? They keep on nagging you, till you say a yes. That's how much they nag you. But then it's your choice. I don't want to do it. So that story put us in a positive light. June 3 came. I was expecting okay, June 10, 15, I'll birth. No, it didn't happen. I was feeling anxious. I called the first year. I'm like, I don't know. I'm getting scared. I would cry. I would ask for help. Tapasya came and one day she visited me because I called her and she took me to a botanical park around and we walked around and we had a bumpy train ride. And let's see if this bumpy train ride gives you labor. I still remember her sitting with me, my kids, my mom. We all had a nice bumpy train ride. Let's see if like, but again, I didn't go in labor and she left. And I thought about it. I like, if this was a conventional gynac and if I had gone to her, should have just given me medicine. and thrown me out of the room. And Tapasya actually took me out in fresh air. She took me to a park. We had fruits together. We spoke for hours. I remember we were sitting by a lake. We dipped our feet in that lake. And I enjoyed with her. Like, wow, it's such a wonderful appointment that I had.
That's how you nurture the
Yeah,
woman. That's how you make her feel confident in herself. And that's our job. That's how it should be. It's
yeah,
beautiful.
that was amazing. It's
Mm,
beautiful. Definitely. I remember walking in that park for hours with her, just talking. My kids were playing. Yeah, it was amazing. It was amazing. I know my mood was okay for that time. I liked it for a day. I knew my anxieties will again
you
kick
can.
back until my husband, yeah, till my husband was there in June. Things were fine. I mean, somewhere towards June, and I started my prodromal labor.
Mm.
So I would get these contractions on the top of the uterus and the like tightening in the middle of the uterus and down the uterus, and that kept happening.
And you
Well, this is
felt
labor.
and you felt exactly that. Like horizontal and
Yeah,
wow,
I
wonderful.
felt on top of the uterus, on the middle and down. So constant tightening. I could feel changes in my body. I could tell what was happening every day. I felt my body is moving towards something. Like okay, every day in June, the baby is lowering, my bones are opening, and I would describe it to Tapasya. Tell me how you're feeling. She would like ask me every day. Like I like
Mm.
how your intuition is talking to you.
Mm.
I like how your body is uh,
Yeah,
guiding
yeah. You're
you
so
towards labor.
aware of what's happening. Yeah.
Yeah. Because this time in the month of June, I'm not listening to anybody else. I'm only listening to my inner voice
Mm.
and to my baby and the changes that are happening in my body. I'm eating well, I'm moving, I'm going for a walk every single day. And in the midst of it, my husband came. He like, okay, I'm going to get my license done in India. Mera bhi kar do.
Mm.
So since we have Kuwait license, car license, I remember going to the license office and in pregnancy getting my license and I'm like, wow, I have an Indian license. I can drive a car. But I'm like, let me birth and then I'll drive. I'll figure out driving. And yeah, kept myself busy with the daily walking and I started Braxton Hicks. I thought this is labor.
Mm-hmm.
So 1 or 2 weeks of prodromal labor,
1 and 2 weeks,
and then
one
we
or two
stopped.
weeks. Yes.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, around 1.5 2 weeks of prodromal labor of those repeated contractions down,
Mm.
up, and it would cause me to sweat. It would give me a little. I would feel a little dizzy. I would want to rest in them.
Mm. Were they
So she did
continuous?
tell me,
Were they continuous?
but was it? No, it was only in the day,
In
not
the
in the
day.
night. It was
Ah,
only in the day.
okay.
It was only in the day for hours, like 3 4 hours upwards, 3 4 hours in the center, and then 3 4 hours downwards. And then I would sleep at night, and I would feel okay. This is taking me towards birth. After 2 weeks, they stopped. They completely stopped,
Mm.
and then I felt the lowering was happening. My belly went from high to quite low, and I remember meeting a relative, and even she told me
Yeah.
she's very close, but we hadn't disclosed that we are having a home birth. We hadn't disclosed to people in the family because we didn't want anyone to panic.
Mm. Or panic you
And we
in turn.
yeah, or panic me. And I don't understand why when these women have birthed so many children in the past, like a home birth in the past, why they have lost the confidence and where it's all gone and why they're not supporting their daughters anymore.
Yeah.
it's
It's fear.
it's surprising.
It's powerful.
It goes to show me you don't have a strong bond with your own daughter. You understand what I'm trying to say? I
Mm.
mean, that's a bond that you look forward to. You were supposed to be the mother that held your child's hand and guided her towards a normal birth and helped her achieve it. But these days, the moms itself don't want to do it. They're like, we don't want to see a child in pain and you're ready to hospital and get them cut. You don't want to see them in pain and you're ready for them to go into surgery. How does that work? What's wrong with you all?
Yeah.
I hope this podcast helped change his mind and people think.
Touch wood. Yes.
Uh, okay. I came back home after visiting her. I didn't doubt. I wanted to continue with the journey that I had.
Mm.
But after June 17, when I thought 40 weeks are over, and by June 22, I finished June 22, 24, I finished my prodromal. I'm like, I'm not sure if this is gonna happen. It's such a long wait, and my husband doesn't have holiday in July. I don't know how it's gonna happen. Um, But I'm like, okay, I've come so far. I was giving up. At some point, I told my husband as well, let's go and get a cesarean done. I would get up every morning and tell him, let's go and get a cesarean done. But I prepared my internal circle so strong by sending them articles over the years and everything
They
that
didn't.
this time they didn't want to give up on me. They said, you're not thinking of hospital. You have come so far. Mubina, shall we remind you what all you used to send us? Like, shall we send all that back to you right now and tell you why you're there? And
Wow.
remind the articles, shall we send them to you and remind you why you're there? And they're like, no, you're gonna do it. We are here by your side. You're gonna do it. And I was amazed. I was amazed with the support. I was like, okay, I prepared. I mean, they prepared so well. Uh, Tapasya also spoke like we used to have we had a group where we chat, and then she had chats with Atif as well. How do I deal with her in these cases? And she's like, don't stop her at any point.
Mm.
Don't stop her from a cesarean, but keep reminding her why she's there. So the way they took it also was amazing. The way they were mentally just keeping me strong and going and busy with it was just amazing.
Yeah.
Support was awesome. I loved it. And they wouldn't disclose all that to me in those
Mm.
moments. They would tell me later, this is what we discussed, this is how we were going to tackle you. Like I checked with my colleagues and my midwifery group as well. They told me maybe your dates are wrong. They're 2-3 weeks later. The
Mm.
ultrasound is wrong. Meanwhile, I'm trying to figure out which week I've conceived. I'm like, I was stressing a bit about it. Like, which week possibly. I'm like, ask my husband, which week have we conceived? I want to calculate my date. I want to know which week it is. Then I remembered we had another Eid coming up in July. July came in. There's another Eid coming in July. It was Eid al-Adha. And I remember for my first baby, he was born in Ramadan, and I had made this prayer. I wanted him to be born on Eid.
Of
I'm like, maybe
course.
that is
That's
that
you. It's
that
you.
dua that's that's gonna be answered
Yeah.
right now. Maybe it didn't get answered that time. It's gonna be answered right now. And my husband kept coming 3 or 4 times because he didn't in July. His leave was in June and not in July. But then he kept coming back and forth. And Eid was anyways going to be a 10-day holiday. Eid al-Adha is a 10-day holiday, so he was going to be there with me. Yeah, the night before Eid, my contraction started in the afternoon at around 3 o'clock, and a week before that, I started releasing my mucus plug.
Mm. This is where we end the episode, keeping you waiting for the second part where the birth just begins, the labor just begins. So you see the power of the mind here. Again, I'll come back to the power of the mind, how women manifest what they want out of their births, even if they don't realize it. Mubina wanted the labor to begin and the baby to be born around Eid. And that's just what happened. Our convictions, our faith. There is so much to birth than just how birth happens all on its own. There are so many factors surrounding it, and an individual story is an individual story. And so far, throughout these stories, I think you've realized how people are different, their choices are different. But if they know how birth happens, if they know how to work with it, and if they know what they really desire out of this experience, I'm so sorry. And if they really know what they desire out of that experience, they get it. They get it. So if you've really loved the stories and the podcast so far, you might as well consider giving this podcast a voting. It has been nominated for the HD Smartcast Awards, and I will be really grateful if you can go on to the show description and find the link there, find the category, go ahead, cast a vote, and help the podcast reach even better audience. Thank you so much. There is a field beyond fear, where the body is empowered to take on labor and birth.
To land there, it is crucial to take birth education. To enroll into our unique labor and birth preparation course, reach out to us at www.birthagni.com or scroll through all available prenatal and postnatal preparation classes. Thank you for listening, all in the spirit of birth, womanhood, and freedom. Remember, you got the power. This podcast is about physiological birth and does not offer or claim to provide medical knowledge or diagnosis.